An overview of the major features of Records Wizard. It's a database that allows you to import files and organize them and find them and operate on them in various ways. First, let me orient you to the window of a database. This is an example database. Over here, it lists the files and folders that you have. If you choose a file, it will display over here. You can enter notes associated with every file here, and there are various attributes associated with files which can also be shown by clicking here. This shows the attributes of this file, which includes the date it was modified. If it, for example, is a statement, for a financial statement, you can list a starting and ending date. You can assign other attributes to it there. I'll hide that just for now. And the size of the notes, by the way, can be adjusted to that you can hold as many as you want and see what you want. But that's a basic orientation. I'll explain some of these buttons later. Let me also point out that there's different ways to import data into the database. You can, from the File menu, import. You can import from the clipboard. You can drag a file from the Finder on top of the Records Wizard icon. That will import it. You can drag it from the Finder directly into here. That will import it. You can specify a folder that any file in the folder will be imported into Records Wizard, the current database, when you open Records Wizard or bring it forward. And you can download files directly from the built-in web browser, and I'll show that later. Now, let me also point out that files can be filed by date, and they are automatically filed in folders by year and month. And if, for example, I were to look at this file, now it's actually the same README that you saw there, but note the name of the file. It has a plus 9/12/21 on it. That fact that the name had plus and a date on it means that it was filed automatically in these dates. And I'm going to show you the attributes of the file, and you can see that the starting date and the ending date are filled in. Now you might say, how did it know from the ending date to have the starting date be a month earlier as opposed to a quarter earlier? That's because elsewhere I set a reminder to say I want to import this file monthly, and so it knows that it's a monthly statement. Now, having said that, you put these important data in the database, you're going to want to have an encrypted database. So on the security menu, you can encrypt the database with strong encryption with a password which you'll have to enter to access the data, and all the data in the database will be encrypted. And as you can move the database around, you still have all your data in it encrypted. Now let me talk a little bit about the buttons. You can add or delete folders in here. You can expand, this will expand all of the folders or collapse all of the folders. I'll go back here and select this. You can sort. This it's grayed out right now because it's not available. You can edit the name of a file. You can create smart folders. We'll talk about those a little bit later. I've already showed you this to expand or show or not the attributes. This controls what is shown down here, which are reminders to scan in or download a financial statement on a certain date. These buttons here manipulate PDFs, make them larger, any kind of image if it's shown here. Make them larger, smaller, rotate them, restore them back to the beginning. There's an enhance button that is useful if you've scanned in poor quality stuff. It will make it easier to read. Or you can open the file you have selected in the Finder, in Preview, or in Adobe Reader. Now, having said all that, I want to show you this folder and the fact that these folders are different colors. Red means it's a system folder. There's limited things you can do in it. It's maintained by the system. If you import something and it doesn't know where to put it, it goes into unfiled. On the other hand, you can set up, I'm not going to go through this now, but you can set up sophisticated rules for where to file something based on its name or based on its contents, and a lot of things can be filed automatically. And this is a smart folder, and what it does is it captures everything in the database that was in 2020, and that I named the folder that's just because I chose it. But if I double click it, you can see the rule that created it. Any file that has a path containing 2020 gets put in a smart folder with that name. Now this was done with the find command, which is very, very sophisticated. I'm going to show it to you. Here we go. Show it to you now. You can choose as many different options as you want. You can have modified dates be within a range. You can find forward. You can find backward. You can select everything that matches. You can put them in a smart folder. Very, very sophisticated find. Now I want to show you one of the coolest features of Records Wizard. It's the reminders and download. So here are reminders of 2 financial statements that are due on these dates. So presumably for this National Bank example, I would get it in the mail and I would scan it in and import it. But for the Visa card, I can download it from the website. So I'm going to show you how that operates. Of course, it's a fake website, but it gives you the idea of how it works. So I'm going to click on this reminder. I'm going to double click it, and the Visa card folder is automatically selected here. I will now look at the attributes for that. You notice that I have a reminder set to download monthly on the 12th. Remember I mentioned before that it knows the start date when I specify the end date based on how often I say I download it. Then in the website portion, I've set up the URL for the website. Of course, this is a fake website. User ID and password. Of course, I can generate a password if I chose to of different links that include special characters or not. I can also specify to have the user ID and password entered automatically or manually. In this case, I'm entering the user ID automatically after typing a tab once we get to the site, and then automatically entering the password in a field after the user ID, and then typing return. And I'm displaying it and processing it with the Records Wizard built-in browser. Now I could specify another browser if I wanted to, but with the Records Wizard browser, it will automatically download it directly into the database and file it by date, as you will see. So now I'm going to click Go to URL. Notice that I have this selected here because I'm working on this particular reminder, and the idea here is you check them off once you've done them. Once this is downloaded, this will automatically be checked off and this will disappear. So we're now going to go to the URL. So the red thing reminds me not to change anything because it's going to automatically do the user ID and the password. Now we've gotten to the point where there are statements. So I'm going to download the October statement. Here it is. You'll notice that it's up through 10/5/21. So now I'm going to import it as a PDF. It's going to fill in the name statement. I'm going to add to the end of that 10-5. So I'm entering basically the ending date of the statement, and it'll default to the current year. I click OK. It imports it. It tells me it's imported. Now when I close that browser, you'll see that the file is imported. It's in the proper date folder of October. The ending date that I typed on the end is filled in. The starting date is figured out from that. And the reminder that triggered all this was gone. So this gives you a rough idea of the features of Records Wizard. A lot more information is available in the help, available under the help menu. You can look at the help, and there's actually a quick reference guide that shows you what different buttons do, etc. You can also click on the link below and find out more information.